Episode 6. Woohoo! Episode 6, and we're talking about battling homesickness when you're abroad. Usually, that's when you move abroad as an expat, or for like long periods of time. That's kind of like when you start getting homesick. Everybody knows what homesickness is, right? Yes, you should all know. So, homesickness is really like when you move abroad for usually for I would say over longer than a month, like maybe like at least 3 months. And you start getting nostalgic and you start missing things back home, how your life was back home in your home country, stuff like that. And one thing that you should, for me, which I didn't realize or I didn't know, was that you don't really get homesick until maybe like really homesick, maybe like 6 months in. Well, that's how it was for me. So like before, and I've gotten homesick in all the countries that I've been in for a long time. So, no, let's talk about when I'm older. No, even when I would go for summers in the US, like close to the end of the summer, sometimes I'd be ready to go home. When I lived in France for 5 years, I got homesick, and it's like it comes in waves, right? It's not like homesickness. It comes in like these different periods. And then when I was living in Colombia, I also got homesick. But funny, when I was in Colombia, I got homesick for France, not necessarily for Jamaica. So that was interesting. By that time, when I was in Colombia, it was like maybe 7 years. I think I was about 6 or 7 years already abroad. And of those 6-7 years, five and a half of them was in France. And so for me, my homesickness became missing France when I was in Colombia. And in India, boy, so many things happened in India. I don't think I really got homesick. There were just too many adventures. So homesickness really happens. Like I said, homesickness is like when you're 6 months in, right? And you kind of get used to the place, used to wherever you're staying. That's when you get homesick. So what happened with me, let's talk about when I was in France. So when I first moved to France, right, which I already told you about how that went. When I moved to France, that's in episode 1. It was just crazy. There was homelessness. There was trying to find a new apartment, new job. Everything was like exciting. And it took me like maybe 2 months to like really settle down. And then what happens, I find, when you get to when you move abroad or when you move to like a new place, is you become like a tourist first, and then you become an expat, and then you become local. I think it's like in 4 local, but I think it's like in 4 phases. And so the first 2 months was just like me trying to figure out everything, and then after like month 3, I started like, oh, let me go visit. What's here? What's in my new town? What can I do? Ooh, okay, I know this spot. And so everything's like all exciting. And this is in like 3 months. I met, my new guy, which I actually spoke about in the last one, which was my Muslim ex-boyfriend that I met in the French club. But yeah, that was like month 3. And, by like month 4 or so, things, you're just like, okay, I'm getting into stuff, month 5, everything. But then like when it's like month 6, that's when it hits, and I started like, okay, so I have visited all that I can visit right now, and I don't have a routine, and usually this is the time when this would happen at this time, or and like at month 6 you start realizing with your friends, they're having they're celebrating something, or you're missing out on like a party or an achievement, or like everybody, your girls, or your group, your squad go out for dinner or to have drinks or whatever, and then you like missing it, right? And so that's what happened with me. I started like really feeling left out from a lot of the activities and lots of stuff, and then I would just start missing like these tiny things. And part of homesickness is you never really know when it's kind of like gonna hit or how it's going to hit, right? And so the big part of what I would miss was like the Jamaican sensibility. So like right now, I think what's happening right now, Pesheng Weng Weng, that thing. I'm sorry, but you just start missing like Jamaican jokes, or you're Jamaican when, or you're trying to tell a joke and you realize you have to say it in patois, and you're like, but it's not funny if I say it in French or if I say it in English, and like nobody really gets it because they're not Jamaican, right? And so that's like part of the biggest thing that I really missed when it was like month 6, and I missed that Jamaican sensibility. Of course, by that time I started kind of like missing food. Yo, homesickness. When I was abroad, I never eat so much Jamaican, well, not to eat, cook so much Jamaican food in my life. Like, I don't like cooking. What pronouns? Deidre in Wonderland? I don't know. Okay. Oh, Pesheng Weng Weng. Oh my god, I don't even know if I'm saying it right. But when I was abroad, like when I'm in Jamaica, I don't really cook Jamaican food, right? Because like even a girl, I think it's just a long process. You have to like season the meat, marinate the meat. It's just long, right? And I don't really love rice, and I don't like food, so like I don't like ground provisions like jam and banana and everything. That's not my jam. But when I was in France, girl be cooking oxtail, curry goat, rice and peas, everything, rondong, all the things, right? Like I took time most of my day to like hunt, and you can't find all these foods. Like sometimes I have to like hunt down, figure out which African store or do research. Oxtail, they don't eat the tail of the cow in France, fun fact. And so I had to be like negotiating with the butchers to be like, okay, so when the meat coming in, can you just save the tail? Because they usually throw it away, right? I'm like, can you save the tail? And I used to get oxtail like dirt cheap. Dirt cheap. It used to be so cheap to get oxtail. I used to just have oxtail in my fridge, just like load up everywhere. But that was like one of the hard things about moving abroad. Just like these tiny little things that you would miss. And so, like I said, by month 6, I started like really missing some of that. So like, what are some of the things that you can do to like get over homesickness? So I think like what helped me was, one of the things that helped me was, what was it? Not checking into home too much. So when I started to realize that I was having lots of FOMO, having lots of like disappointment, because I kept on missing events with my friends, and I would like see them, you know, go out and have drinks and stuff, and I wasn't able to join. Actually, I realized that maybe you wanna, you know, it's not even just like withdrawing, but it's like good for your mental health, right? Don't be like comparing or get caught up in FOMO. So I had to like create boundaries with how I interacted with Jamaica and my friends in Jamaica. I couldn't like spend hours talking to them, because what happens is like I wasn't moving back, right? And so I had to also start immersing in the culture and the country that I was in, and I had to like create these boundaries with my life back home in Jamaica. So that would give me space to enjoy my life in this new country that I chose to go to, right? And so that's one way that you can help to reduce homesickness, is kind of actually creating routines and new day-to-day activities in the new country that you're in. So that helped me. Another thing which I already spoke about that you can do for homesickness is like, also while you're creating boundaries with your friends and your families and your relationships back home, you're also like incorporating your culture in your everyday life. So for me, that was like cooking lots of Jamaican food. So like I said, I was like cooking curry goat and oxtail and all these things like every 2 weeks, right? It's also like trying to like incorporate some of that into my life. What else did another thing that you can do is, so homesickness, you have that FOMO, that feeling of, you know, missing out. And then it also brings on a lot of loneliness. So I experienced quite a bit of loneliness. Every time I became homesick, I felt really lonely. And one way that you can get rid of loneliness and work on homesickness when you're abroad is, what I did was actually do a lot of cultural exchange. Because that way I can share my culture and then also share in the other people's culture. And so I would like join, I forget the name, oh la la, c'est quoi? Ça s'appelle comment? Yeah, so there's I don't remember, but there's this community in France that you can online, right? And what you do is you exchange. So you host people for dinners in your house, and you kind of do like a rotation. So you join a group of like maybe 5 or 6 people, and you know, one would be like me, the Jamaican, and another person like Ethiopian, a French person, a German, or you know, wherever. But we're all multicultural, and we would each take weeks or take turn hosting a cultural dinner with the other person. So whoever is hosting would have the main meal or the main 2 meals, and then other persons would bring their dishes. So kind of like a potluck, but you do it with like strangers, right? And lots of times you have like maybe 4 or 5 different nationalities and cultures or ethnicities in your space. And so that really helped me, because then I was learning, and I could also share my joy of my Jamaican culture with new people and new people who like really appreciate it. And then I could also learn about new cultural things. So that was like one of the biggest things that I did. So if you're like solo traveling, for example, and you feel like, you know, but you're doing it for like a long time and you feel like you're getting homesick, you could try like going to a cooking class, or doing cultural exchanges with like food or language. That's also one thing. So I want to ask anybody, have you guys ever experienced like loneliness or, you know, loneliness or homesickness when you traveled abroad? Anybody want to share? Andreen, I'm gonna add you to the live chat. Are you willing? I'm just gonna Andreen will probably like cop out and like cancel. But has anybody like experienced homesickness when they were traveling abroad, or loneliness? And how did you deal with that? I'm curious. Anybody? Nobody? Andreen doesn't want to talk to me. Yeah, so that was, I think, when I was in France, I had homesickness. And like I said, when I lived in Colombia, I was homesick for France and not Jamaica. So when I was living in France, I got homesick for Jamaica. Then when I moved to India, I didn't really get homesick too much because, oh my God, it happened when I was in India. And I was like busy all the time. And then when I moved to Colombia afterwards, I started being homesick for France because I was away for like 7 years, and 5 of the 7 years was me living in France for a long time. And so for me, home sort of became France at that point. So yeah, that's one of the things that I had to really battle with. Sometimes it was like really hard moments. So what's the saddest thing you've done when homesick? The saddest thing I've done when homesick was, I think I cried. That's the saddest thing. Oh, when I was, I think this is when I was in Colombia. I wasn't enjoying the food. I cried and I tried to make a quiche. Actually, I made the quiche, and while I was eating it, I just cried because there's like a restaurant, like a boulangerie. C'est quoi en anglais? Boulangerie. So a bakery. There's a bakery I would always love. So there's a bakery in France. I would always love their quiches. Their spinach quiche it would be. And I tried to recreate it when I was in Colombia, and every time I would eat it, I would just cry because I didn't really enjoy the food, and I really wanted food that I was accustomed to. Yeah, so that's the saddest thing I've done since homesick. Jada asked, what's my weirdest cultural experience? Weird. There was that's a hard question to answer because I've had so many different cultural experiences. There was one time I was in India and I was supposed to be blessed by I was at a temple waiting, and there was this cow and you could get blessed by the cow, but you had to pay like, I don't know, 20 rupees, not a lot of money. So you paid, some of this is like a scam, right? But I paid, and you just kind of like touch the cow's head. No, blessed by an elephant. So you touch the elephant's head and you bend your head, and the trunk would hit you on the head like this, just like touch you on the head. And the elephant did that, right? And I said, namaste, thank you. And as soon as I left, I walked off, and there was a cow beside me at that time. And literally as soon as I walked off, the cow just shake the biggest load of crap. It was like flat right beside me, and it missed me by like 2 inches. So that was weird. So I like to say that the elephant saved me from being shat upon by a cow. But I think that's it. Thanks, guys. I will try to. Jada laughing at me. And see you next week. I don't know what my topic is gonna be because I'm in such a weird space. But we'll chat. Ciao. Thanks for watching. Bye.